Klatt was just a couple minutes late. The private jet and town car, they had to refuel. So he is now joining us here on the set. It is good to see Joel Klatt. He made it so personal. I was just like, he spent a lot of money, and this guy's going over there naming clubs. And holy.
J-Mac, clean it up.
I will say this.
Did he say jiggle joints?
I don't even know what that is.
What are we doing?
Does that mean Jell-O shooters? I don't even know what that means.
I have no idea.
I'm in my 50s. This stuff's over my head.
Let's just talk about cheeseburgers and Harbaugh, shall we?
Okay, so
there we go.
Harbaugh, and I like him.
Mm-hmm. That's been established.
He says, okay. He didn't apologize at Big Ten Media Day. So nothing to apologize for. He imposes a 3-game ban. So, first of all, during COVID, our epidemiologists couldn't figure out exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So a college football coach, they were all just trying to pay bills and figure it out.
Well, and this incident that this all stems from is kind of, I mean, there's a bit of nuance to it. There's no doubt. But can I just say that the incident for me doesn't matter at all. The subsequent, quote unquote, lie, if he misinformed or wasn't completely honest with the NCAA, doesn't matter to me. If you're focused on that, if you're focused on the suspension, whether it was self-imposed or what the NCAA is going to do in the future, whether you think it's fair or not, you're looking in the wrong spot. It's a diversion. It's a diversion. You're probably a Michigan fan or Ohio State fan. And the reason I say that is because this is essentially a picture of why the NCAA is so bad. So bad. A lack of consistency, a lack of rule enforcement, total ineptitude across so many levels, including the COVID schedule and what was permissible and what wasn't permissible during that time.
It's a mess.
How were they enforcing that? It was a mess, right? Every school had to come up with their own COVID philosophy and what the rules were as far as masking and how many students were going to be back on campus or how many fans were going to be allowed. NCAA had nothing to say about it. They never take a tough stance, but boy, they'll get involved. And it's like, hey, wasn't there a recruit when he wasn't supposed to be there and didn't you feed him? And aren't there coaches that are coaching a practice when they shouldn't have been or I don't care about any of that. This is a picture of NCAA ineptitude. This is a picture of why this organization, the NCAA, needs to go away.
Yeah.
Needs to go away. And I will say, I believe that it will. And that's actually somewhat exciting for me. Just to give you a quick analogy, remember when I told you that the demise of the Pac-12 was over the course of a decade.
Right.
Decisions made a decade ago, and some of them even further, were the first dominoes in a long line of dominoes that we saw ultimately collapse a couple of weeks ago. Okay?
Yeah.
We are in the middle of the string of dominoes of the NCAA. That's why I'm excited, because there's an end in sight.
Yeah.
They have been so inept when it came to getting in front of NIL. They only move when it's litigation, and they lose litigation, and they spend millions of dollars on litigation.
They had a 10-year head start on NIL, and then were shocked when it happened.
I spoke specifically with people at the NCAA 6 years ago, and I told them, this is what I said verbatim to them. They would ask me about name, image, and likeness, and I said, you take 2 steps that you don't want to right now, or you're going to be forced to take 10 in 4 years that you can't and you won't be ready for, and it'll all collapse. And that's exactly what's happened. So in so many ways, Colin, we are in this chaotic environment because of the ineptitude of the organization that we all think that we're still under. And what I'm not even proposing, but seeing in the future is that what we're going to see at this end of the line of dominoes is that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to garner enough power through their size, through their revenue, where they're just going to say, like, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
We don't need you.
Yep.
And college football will be better for it. They're not involved when it comes to crowning a champion. And quite frankly, they're not really involved when it comes to governance because they govern in some areas and not others. Their penalties across schools, ask USC fans, are totally inconsistent on basically similar infractions. They're a PR disaster. And this is all I can think about when this Harbaugh issue comes up. So Do I think that they should suspend Harbaugh, or the self-imposed 3-game ban? I don't know, and I don't care. I really don't, because I know that whatever he did or allegedly did or didn't do at Michigan pales in comparison to the tampering that coaches are doing, and I know for a fact are doing with players on other rosters right now in the NIL and transfer portal. So that's my take.
All right, good take. All right, so this sounds on the surface ridiculous. But college football fans can be ridiculous.
Oh, I love it.
Harbaugh beats Ryan Day a third time and hammers him. And Ryan Day's in trouble.
Oh.
Sounds crazy. 3 straight wins. By the way, they ground and pound it. Ohio State gets bulldozed. Still doesn't have an offensive identity beyond really good receivers. 3 straight losses. It's convincing. It's as if Ohio State can't find their footing, and Ryan Day's suddenly in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he would fall under a lot of heat. He's fallen under a lot of heat even last year, losing, second time in a row.
Was he under a lot of heat, you think?
No, because he had his AD, Gene Smith.
Yeah, had his back.
And so
but he's leaving.
It was noise, yes. And so this is where it gets interesting. Gene Smith announced that he's going to retire. And you know what? Congratulations, Gene. Gene's been one of the best athletic directors in the country for a long time.
Gene. Great guy.
And any coach will tell you the last place that they want to be is working for someone that didn't hire them. Because inevitably, and in particular at a post like Ohio State, ADs want their fingerprints on the biggest programs
no question.
in the athletic department, namely the football program. Now, I'll give you an example of a guy that had to come in as an athletic director and just be totally hands-off. Greg Byrne went from Arizona to Alabama. Well, Nick Saban was already there. Guess how much say Greg Byrne has over?
Not much.
Not much. And I've talked to Greg about this, and I'm not taking a shot, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just Nick Saban was Nick Saban. The problem for Ryan would be working for a new AD with the heat of the fan base as the AD is trying to fundraise in the midst of a challenging environment with NIL when he still has to go fundraise for things like facilities and scholarships and so on and so forth. When the fan base isn't happy, then the AD would feel that. And if the AD doesn't have the equity that Gene Smith had, then it becomes a little bit more tumultuous, right? So Ryan knows that. I've talked to him about this. He knows that there's pressure. He knows that they have been close and that they have fallen short in the worst times, namely against Michigan and in the playoff. And that has to change. And I think that they've done some things, and in particular in development of their defense, that they hope will change that. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, with what Michigan is bringing back this year on the offensive line, in the backfield, at quarterback, on the defensive side, Michigan's the favorite in the Big Ten, and rightly so. And they host Ohio State in Ann Arbor to end the year.
Yeah, I think Michigan may be the best team in the country.
I think that
15 NFL guys.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's a lot.
Well,
of
we
dudes.
don't know that to be. I mean, are you just taking Harbaugh's word for it?
Well,
Apparently, he lied to the NCAA.
I was studying mock drafts all weekend. So
were you mocks already in August?
Yeah,
that's impressive.
I'm dealing with a professional here.
I tell you what, your study habits second to none.
All right, Klatt, I see this. I see your preseason top 10. I'm okay with it. But you do have USC at 8 and Washington at 6. So I do. So Lincoln Riley basically gets first place he's accustomed to. What that's telling me, though, is you don't think they're going to solve their defensive issues, and they're real issues. That's what you're telling me, because Washington's defense has no NFL players. If you look at all
they're better than USC.
No, my bad. They have one good rush end. My bad.
They have a rush end that'll get taken late first round.
Yeah, they have one really good rush end, but it's mostly an offensive story.
Okay.
What you're telling me is...
Oh, and USC is not?
No, they got some big old Sunday bodies.
Okay, we'll see.
Kalen
we'll see this
Bullock,
week 0. We're
Cobb.
going to see him play.
I got alphabetical order up here. Light never goes off.
All right.
So you're telling me USC... And by the way, I love Lincoln, but at some point... If they have to win by shootout again, you got to make some changes.
Okay, you are insane. Do you know why I say that?
So data is insane.
No. Specifically, I say insane. Because you know the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Well, that and skydiving, but go ahead.
True. Name the last defense Lincoln Riley put on the field that was even decent.
Well, that's my point. And he's had Alex Grinch has been.
Well, so then now all of a sudden, so what I'm trying to tell you is they in my rankings they fell behind Washington because I trust Washington more defensively. They were a better defense than USC.
So my point
I've got an 11, 9, and 6-year-old. Okay, and they're all boys, but those of you that have elementary kids, you parents out there, you're going to know this analogy. You know, there's always one kid in the classroom that has a peanut allergy. Oh, man, it's a big deal these days,
yeah,
right? The allergy kid, right? So, and nothing against the allergy kid. We just all know that like it exists. And so, like, if you try to bring a treat in on your kid's birthday, oh, my gosh, it's like a million hoops to go through. It's like, well, what does little Susie need?
Right,
Susie needs a Rice Krispie treat, and Jimmy needs a glazed donut, and all this, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
USC's defense was the peanut allergy kid. They're allergic to tackling, which was like the last time I checked, it is pretty important to tackle. Did you see what Utah did to them? Did you see what Tulane did to them? Did you see what UCLA did to them?
Let's be fair. Look what they inherited. He's just trying to fix the roster.
That's fine. No, look, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
My problem is this is not a track record where you can point to what Alex Grinch or Lincoln Riley did at Oklahoma and say, oh, see, they've got a track record of a way to fix this. Yeah. So that's why they fell at 8. Yeah. Prove it. Now, they've gotten some transfers that I think could really improve them defensively.
Bodies.
I agree with that. I need to see it in order to come off of that stance. I know what Caleb can do. I'm interested to see what the run game is because Lincoln's offense is always better when they've got a really good run game. I don't generally either because it's always been there. They've got a track record of success. There's no track record of success for them defensively whatsoever. So, to me, it's just another 8th-ranked team in the country with a great quarterback that's going to go to try to outscore people.
I was allergic to math in 7th grade. That's the only thing I was allergic to. I tried to get it banned from school, and I couldn't.
You couldn't? Oh, man.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.